Everyone says they want to make 10K a month. They post it on their vision boards, they tell it to all their friends, they write it in their journals, they talk about it like it's some sort of milestone that will finally change everything. But here's the truth. 99% of people will never get there. Yeah, you heard me. And it's not because they're lazy, it's not because they're stupid, it's because they can't handle the loneliness that actually comes with it. Because to get to that 10K a month, 20K a month milestone, there's a chapter that no one talks about. The chapter where it's just you. No friends hyping you up, no validation, no applause, just silence, sacrifice, and self-doubt. And the reason I say this is I remember my own lonely chapter like it was yesterday. I think about it all the time. There was a point early on in my sales career where I felt like I was doing everything right. I was grinding, I was showing up to meeting, I was practicing calls, I was doing role play, but nothing was clicking. Leads were cold, I was missing targets, and the worst part, I felt like no one understood what I was actually going through at the time. And I'd scroll through social media every single night before I sleep, and I'd see people out there partying on the weekends, living normal lives, while I was sitting alone in my room, headphones in, listening to sales call recording and taking notes until 2 a.m. And honestly, there was this one night where I'd done this for months, and there was this one night where I'd got into an argument with, like my family and just parents, and it was just a pretty bad night for me about like online money and online business. And there was that one night I remember staring at my laptop screen thinking, dude, is this even worth it? What if I'm just wasting my time? Let me just be a normal kid. Let me go back to university. Let me go back with my friends. Let me just go out and party. Let me go and live life like a normal 18-year-old. And that was my breaking point. But it was also the night, forever grateful, I decided to stop waiting for someone to get it. And I realized that this lonely chapter, it wasn't just a punishment, it was actually a price that I had to pay. And the moment I accepted that, everything changed for me. I went from 0 to 40K a month in under a year as a 19-year-old, literally fresh out of high school. So if you're watching this video and you're struggling to face with that loneliness, you feel like everyone's against you and you want to find a way to solve it, listen up, because I'm living proof that you can break through this and there is a positive at the other side. Sweet. Now, the first thing you have to understand is you don't get to 10K a month by feeling good. You get there by growing through the moments that literally nobody sees. And most people quit too early because they think loneliness means something's wrong and that it's this big negative thing. But reality is, it's just an entry ticket for your success. It's just a price that you have to pay. And when you start building your business, when you start naturally outgrowing people who aren't growing at the same pace, your priorities shift. Their distractions, their goals, the things that they do in their life don't interest you anymore. And that distance, honestly, it feels very heavy in the heart at first. I'll give you a live example in my life. So when I started off, I had a very close, tight-knit group of friends, which some of them I'm still very close friends with to this day. However, I'd have friends that weren't interested in online business at all, weren't interested in self-development, and they'd go out and party every single weekend, maybe even every day for the most part. They'd go out and drink, they'd go out and do things that just weren't aligned with my values. And as I was outgrowing that, I didn't want to face myself with distraction. I just wanted to focus on myself. As our values started growing literally in opposite directions, it felt heavy because I'm just losing, close friends that I had my entire life because we outgrew people. And in the moment, yeah, it felt absolutely terrible. I felt like I was a really, really bad person for letting them go. But the reality is, it was just a price that I had to pay because they were weighing me down at the end of the day and didn't have the same values as me. And a great analogy to describe this is, it's like taking off in a plane. As you climb higher, as you start leaving behind the ground, the noise, the people, the crowd, the cheers, like the people waving below, it just goes away. And the higher you go, the quieter it gets. But that's not failure. That's just altitude. That's progress. You have to take off, right? So if you're feeling lonely right now, that's not a sign to quit. That's a sign that you're finally separating from the 99% of people that fail in this industry. Now, the second thing you have to understand is when you lose company, when you lose some friends, you're going to gain a lot of space in your life that wasn't there before. And that empty space in your life can either destroy you or define you. And most people, when they have a lot of bandwidth in their mind, they have a lot of silence in their life, they run back to the things that are stimulating them and that are comforting, like Netflix, like partying, like scrolling. But the ones who make it useful, they use that silence to build self-awareness and clarity. I use this in my own life, and this is a big reason as to why I got to 10K a month. In my peak of loneliness where I pretty much had no one. It was just me, my room, my desk, my laptop, building this business off the ground. I used to go on long walks. That was a big thing for me in the middle of the night. So it would be 10 p.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m. It doesn't really matter. I'd go outside and walk for around an hour or two just to clear my head. No music, no headphones, no noise. I would just sit in a park or sit on the grass and look up and just ask myself questions like, what do I actually want in life? What makes this pain worth it? And that's where I got my best ideas. My breakthroughs, my clarity was always during those walks. I got so much identity change during that time. And a good analogy to describe this is, I don't know for you guys watching this personally, but for me anyway, my shower time is very valuable to me. I love taking showers. And the reason for that is I get a lot of deep thought sessions in, and these random and probably the best ideas I've ever had in my life have occurred to me in the shower. Why is that? It's because when you're in the shower, obviously there's no one around you and it's pure silence. And there's no distractions. So your mind has full clarity of your thoughts. Imagine having shower thoughts 24/7. That's pretty much what loneliness feels like. So main takeaway here is don't rush to fill that silence. Learn to listen to it, and that's where you meet the version of you that can actually handle 10K a month. Sweet. Now that you know that loneliness is not a bad thing and that it's something that you should embrace, that doesn't mean you have to stay lonely for the rest of your life. Once you accept this fact and you're more dialed in, you're more focused on your business, you can slowly start branching out and making friends that actually align with you. But you don't need a massive friend group to make it. You just need the right environment. Find people who are in the same trenches as you, people who have the same values as you, people who are chasing the same thing. And honestly, that's where a mentor or a small accountability group or a few driven friends online can absolutely crush it for you. Because proximity to those people, it kills your loneliness and it makes it easier for you. And I'll share a story with you. When I first found my mentor that I invested into with high ticket sales, I've had multiple mentors in my life. That first community I joined, everything changed for me. I've made some of my great friends from that community itself. And my mentor didn't sugarcoat me things. My friends didn't sugarcoat things. They all were aligned with my values. They were all driven. They were all hustlers. They all had the same goals. They all had my best interests at heart as well, like I did theirs. So for me, that was very welcoming. And I realized that, hey, I'm not the problem. It's not like I'm never going to find friends again. I just didn't have the right people around me. And there's so many people in the online space that were so similar to me, that had similar journeys to me. And that was my personal journey, but this isn't just coming from me. I run a very small community called the DSA where I coach students and help them get to where I am. It's a very small, tight-knit one-on-one group. And it's honestly so wholesome because, like I said, I struggled with loneliness so much when I was starting in my journey. But to see my students all, like, for example, I have a group of students, 4 or 5 of them. They're all doing around 5 to 10K a month, some doing 20K a month, and they're all going together and flying out to an Airbnb in the Gold Coast, Asia, Bali, India, these places, and just making money together and growing and developing such friendships. Like, these are things that I didn't have when I was on my come up journey, and I only had this very late into my high ticket sales journey. So yeah, the main takeaway here is you don't need to do it alone. You just need to be surrounded by people who are also walking through the same darkness. So yeah, that's my take on loneliness. And here's the brutal truth that you probably need to hear. Most people will never reach 10K a month because they're too afraid to be alone long enough to become someone new. Listen to that again if you need. The world keeps them comfortable and their circle keeps them safe. But real growth, real development, real freedom, it happens in quiet. When literally no one is clapping for you, no one's looking out for you. And that's where you build discipline. That's where you build conviction. That's where you earn the version of yourself that can actually handle success. So if you're in that lonely chapter right now, don't run from it. Lean into it, because that silence you hate today, it's the sound of your old life just fading away. So if there's one thing you got from this, embrace loneliness, and it's the price you have to pay for success because it's just on the other side.